Welcome to On Texas Football. Time for State of the Program, brought to you by our friend Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Gerry Hamilton and Jeff Howe of On Texas Football. Guys, each week we try to meet, discuss the high-level topics concerning Texas Longhorn football and athletics as a whole. Got a lot of stuff to cover here. First of all, spring practice starts, we believe, on March 25th. That's a new one. Also, we talked about with Chris Del Conte over the last weekend. He says there will be a fan appreciation day of sorts on April 26th. He'll have his town hall meeting later tonight. Make sure you guys check that out if you get a chance, as well as other news and notes. Longhorns, 14 of them at the NFL Combine. Some of them will be working out. Some of them will be testing and timing. Others have chosen not to. We'll see what all that means. And then obviously the basketball team, Gerry and Jeff, men's basketball team, down to the brass tacks. Got to win 3 of 4 probably to make it into the NCAA tournament. We got a lot to talk about today. Let's start though with the football team and the addition of Duane Akina as the team's secondary coach. Jeff and Gerry, guys, what do y'all think about this move? Jeff, I'll start with you.
I like it for several reasons. I think one, you've got a couple of younger coaches with Mark Orfe and Kenoto Hudson in that secondary who could use a guy that's probably forgotten more football than they know in Duane Akina. I like the fact that Duane Akina and Johnny Nansen have been on the same staff, so they speak the same language. Oh, it took Texas a long time defensively to get the front end tied with the back end under PK. And I feel like in my time watching Texas football, I don't know that anybody did that better than Duane Akina and Will Muschamp tying the front end to the back end. So I like the fact that Coach Akina is coming back to do that. And then the fact that Sark is kind of doubling down on two things. I think one, doubling down on Texas playing more man coverage, to borrow a Sark term. I don't think they're going to major in it, but I think you'll see them trend toward playing a lot more of it given the guys they've recruited. And the other part of that is I think he's doubled down on teachers. Look, Texas – and Gerry, you know this, Texas has recruited some tremendously talented guys in the secondary. So it's not so much about, hey, we need guys with more length. We need guys with more speed. You got guys with the tools. Now they need guys to show them what to do with the tools, how to get the most out of them. So you need really good teachers. And I think, at least from what we know about Mark Orfe and Kenoto Hudson and Coach Akina's track record speaks for itself, they've got some really good teachers on the back end.
What do you think, Gerry?
Yeah, so first thing I want to address with Dwayne is, there's been a lot of, whether it's DMs or questions on boards or whatnot, about his age. And the only thing I want to say to that is Larry Johnson's the D-line coach at Ohio State. He's 72, and he signs a 5-star every year. So people that are worried about the age part of it, that's more of a head coach thing than an assistant coach thing. The question you really have to answer, and I think anybody sounding alarm bells on that are wrong. If a head coach, once he hits 70, we know this from the history of college football, once a head coach hits 70, they're asked some really difficult questions about how long they're going to be there. It's different with assistant coaches because there's more turnovers with assistant coaches and programs. And Larry Johnson's in a blue blood and he's not struggling, and he's 72. And he just got a national championship ring, and his D-line was a big part of it, and he's recruiting more of them every single year. So I'm not worried about that. I think from a recruiting standpoint with Dwayne, too, 90% of the kids he signed in his career from Texas and California. And I think those are going to be his areas. And look, he was out and about in Dallas in January, seeing guys like Donovan Webb and Aaron Bradshaw and Jalen Lott and all those guys when he was at Arizona. Out in Southern California, seeing guys. The interesting thing about his recruiting geography territory, Bobby, he's recruited a lot in south SoCal, like San Diego and those areas where Texas hasn't recruited those areas as hard. They've been in Orange County, right? They've been really focused on those schools down there, whether that's Modern Day, where Sark and everybody has a lot of connections, Chris Jackson, whether it's Orange Lutheran, Anaheim Servite. But Texas hasn't ventured too much south in the San Diego because there's only so many feet you can put on the ground, so much time. And we may see Dwayne even work south of Orange County in California. Johnny Nansen kind of works north down into SoCal. So I think from recruiting geography, that's where you're going to see him recruit the bulk of his kids. Now, if there's a really good safety in Georgia, he will go see that guy. just like Blake Gideon did, even though he wasn't a primarily Georgia recruiter. But I think it fits for a lot of reasons. Again, the number one thing, though, for me is when Michael Huff goes to Jonah Williams and Zell Hicks, Xavier Filsaime, all these young safeties, and he said, this is the reason that everything happened for me. That carries a lot of value for the player defensive backs at Texas. You cannot replace what Michael Huff is going to tell Jonah Williams and Zell Hicks and Xavier Filsaime and all those young safeties. This guy is the reason I have the Thorpe Award. I was a first-round pick, and the reason I'm a mentor for you guys, because without him, none of those things would happen. That carries weight.
It's validation, and you can say that, and then you look at his resume long term. And we've said this now several times, but I think it's worth repeating. He's had 40 plus players go to the NFL. I mean, what more do you want from a coach? The other thing, you talk about age, and I'll say this until I'm blue in the face. There are certain coaches that are maybe 68 years old. Duane Akina is 68 years young. Yeah. He was, when he was 45, he was 45 years young. He's just that kind of guy. We all know him, right? We've all.
And Bobby, let's close the book on the age with this.
Yeah.
Sark has signed 4 straight top 5 classes and signed the number 1 class in 2025. Knowing what he's done at Texas, anybody think he would hire somebody that's too long in the tooth to help him recruit?
It's true. Sark deserves he deserves the credit and the leeway, I guess, to go go after who he wants, because a couple of things. One, not only has he signed those recruiting classes, Gerry, he's also won.
Yeah.
And won big in last 2 years at Texas. He has all the right. He's got that leeway from the fan base. At least he should. Now, there's always got to be checks and balances. I'm not saying that, and that's one of the reasons why we talk about Texas football all the time, is just to make sure that. But he's earned. If he hasn't earned some people's trust as Texas fans, he may never earn it. Is my guess at this point. All right, I want to say thank you to our sponsor each and every day of the program. Brought to you by our friend Adam Lowy over at the Lowy Law Firm. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, Adam and his firm give you a no strings attached free consultation. All you have to do is reach out to them, loweylawfirm.com. They will offer you a free no strings attached consultation. See if you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, and might be due any sort of compensation. Give them a call, loweylawfirm.com. All right, from here, let's talk a little bit of basketball, Gerry. I want to get your take on it. Men's basketball going to Arkansas tonight, but the loss to South Carolina over the weekend is an albatross around Rodney Terry and his team, and I don't know if they can get it off.
Yeah, for RT, that one's going to be tough. For the Texas team, they have to win 3 of the last 4 to get the 8 SEC wins, to get the 8-10 and be in the NCAA tournament, to where they don't have to go on a run in the SEC tournament. They get in the NCAA tournament, so they don't have to go on a run in the SEC tournament. And what's interesting tonight about Arkansas, that means you have to win a road game, either at Arkansas or at Mississippi State, while holding serve at home against Georgia, who beat Florida at home last night, and Oklahoma, who beat Mississippi State at home 2 nights ago or over the weekend. So the end of the schedule, I mean, it's a brutal conference. It's extremely difficult. 12 teams are going to make the tournament out of 16, more than likely. But the Arkansas game is interesting because Texas got bullied on their own home court when Arkansas came. They got bullied on their own home court. And what I mean by bullied is, I'm not trying to be mean, but they took the ball on dribble handoffs. Arkansas guys were pushing through the Texas guards, and they were taking the ball. They did a great job with blocking cutters, rerouting guys in that game. Arkansas bullied Texas. So Texas is going to have some motivation there. Is it enough for them to overcome? I don't know. You want to talk about hate-filled arena now. I mean, nobody's going to care about RT's job security tonight. That guy's going to get called every name. It's going to be ugly in that arena tonight. And here's the bad thing for Texas in that game. Arkansas needs to win that game to be in the NCAA tournament as well. Both those teams are in the same place.
They may not. Neither one of them, Gerry, may handle adversity well. That's typical of mid-tier teams. It really is, right? When you put pressure on them, they kind of wilt. That's what Texas, I think, did in Columbia, South Carolina over the weekend. Jeff, Gerry's right. Bud Walton Arena is going to be calling the Hogs tonight. Where do you see Texas? Is Rodney Terry, is this his swan song at Texas, most likely, in your opinion?
And let me preface that every time I talk about RT, let me preface by saying I like Rodney personally, great guy, but that may be that's one of the worst losses I've seen a Texas basketball team endure in my time following the program. The last one like that, if you go back to Shaka Smart's NIT year, they had a game. It was the regular season finale at home against TCU on senior day. And similar to the South Carolina game, they didn't even show up. They got run out of the building. And especially you're coming off a win over Kentucky. You had a week to get ready for it. You had a chance to get guys healthy. And to say they were flat would be an insult to teams that come out flat. I'll tell you this. Texas fans should know by now, if you don't know the Texas-Arkansas history, you should be well-versed in how much hatred there is up there. Bobby, it's the only place I know, our good friend Craig Way, it's the only place I know where he has had a pimento cheese sandwich thrown at him on his way to a press box. Was in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Nice.
When the play-by-play guy is getting pimento cheese sandwiches thrown at him, that lets you know how the opposing fan base feels about you.
So, man, Craig Way shares something in common with live golfers at the Masters now. All right.
I got to say this. The fact that they serve pimento cheese at the Bud Walton Arena is surprising, or that somebody brought their food into the Bud Walton Arena to throw at Craig Way.
It also, you know what? It also shows great respect for the Arkansas fans of Tyson Chicken, because they could have been throwing drumsticks at Way too. So at least they respect their own NIL donors.
Okay. Hey, other news and notes, Gerry. Recruiting going full blast right now. 33 official visitors as we go through this right now. It could be more by the time this airs in an hour or two after we finish taping. What do you see the strengths of this class, a group of Texas that Texas has coming in, where you're like, okay, this is a really strong group? Texas is going to be picking from the pick of the litter, literally. Are there one or two positions like that right now for you?
Yeah, it's offensive line is number one. So if you go back to the 22 class, and it's different because recruiting was a little different back then, and Texas didn't have the mojo, and Banks and Cam Williams were committed elsewhere. They couldn't get DJ Campbell in the boat early. Neto was a battle till the end. But I see similarities because that class is going to end up with 3 or 4 NFL players out of it. And if you take the 9 official visitors right now, and I think a 10th will be added, maybe even 11th to the official visit list. If you look at the 9 offensive linemen that are out there right now with official visit set to Texas, if they get 5 or 6 guys in this class out of that group, which it probably, that seems hefty. That seems to be a big ask, but I think a couple more visitors will be added to it. If they sign half the guys, it's going to be similar to the 22 class. Now, they may not have the 5-star in Texas, but they may, because I think John Turntine's underrated already nationally. But this offensive line class, the wide receivers, the 6 wide receivers that are coming in for official visits, I think that number could go to 7 if Tristan Keys gets on campus for an unofficial and then juggles, moves around his official visit dates. But, I mean, that's a really talented group. And the crazy thing about the receivers coming in is you have California, Caden Dixon-White. You have Florida, Naeem Burrows, who's a speedster. You have Georgia, Aaron Gregory, and A&M commitment. So they're spread out over several states, and then the Texas kids. So that one's interesting. And then here's the sleeper group. It's tight ends. Because Mark Bowman out of Mater Dei is a 5-star tight end. Hezzy Kent out of Brunswick is one of the more unique athletes in this class. I think that's an uphill battle. I think Mark Bowman, Texas, will come down to a 50-50 shot with whether it be Texas and Oregon or Texas and Georgia. We'll see. But then, you have Caden Prothro out of Georgia, who his official visit list is Texas, Georgia, and others. I mean, and then you have Luke Sorensen out of Anaheim Servite, who's picked up about 20 offers in January and February. That is the best group of tight ends Texas has brought in for official visits since Jeff Banks has been in Austin. So now slower to build out is defensive linemen always in secondary, because the 2 secondary coaching changes, that's going to change a little bit with some of those targets prior and more offers that are going to go out. So I think that one will be, those 2 positions are going to be slower to build. And edge, the same with Howe and Clark. There's not an edge prospect with an official visit set right now. That's going to change, obviously, with Howe and Clark. But right now, offensive line is a studly class of kids coming in for official visitors. Tight end, the same. Wide receivers, extremely talented and versatile.
We talk about this. Jeff, you have any comments on that, on recruiting right now that you're seeing as a longtime observer of the Longhorns?
I'm with Gerry. I love this offensive line class, not just the in-state guys, but the out-of-state guys. Bobby, we talked about it. Samuel Roseboro, I've said, hey, no matter what your number is, if he's one of them, I don't care who the rest are. Like, give me that guy and you'll be good. I like him a lot as a prospect. But I'll add one. And I know Gerry talked about the coaching changes, and that's something you got to consider. But I love the safety class in state. I mean, Aaron Bradshaw, Donovan Webb has some of the best film. And you look, I mean, I don't know, there's some athletic defensive backs in this class. I don't know. There's probably not a guy I've seen that looks as college ready on tape the way Donovan Webb does. So Duane Akina is coming back to Texas at a really good time. Yeah. He's got a really good safety crop to pick from. On top of that position, when you think about it, you think about Sark's first year, right? Brennan Schooler gave you everything you had. The BJ Foster experiment was what it was. And ever since then, you've gradually improved the talent level at that position every year to the point where if you hit on a couple of these guys in this 26 class, the talent level probably, I don't think I'm overstating it, it could go from Death Valley to Mount Everest by the time you get done with this 26 cycle.
I mean, you got Jelani McDonald, Derek Williams on campus. You got Xavier Filsaime, Jordan Johnson-Rappel, Jonah Williams now coming in. They just got dudes, man. That is one of the places that has improved. Blake Gideon, by the way,
did a great job.
Tremendous job recruiting. Anybody that said that he was a weak spot as a recruiter just didn't know. I just don't even know what to tell you, but tremendous job there. All right, I want to go next to the NFL Combine, where the Longhorns have 14 young men participating. Participating is a light word because we learned earlier today that Vernon Broughton will not be going through drills because of a hip flexor strain that he suffered 2 weeks before the Senior Bowl. Probably the reason why, guess what? He wasn't at the Senior Bowl either. Alfred Collins will not be doing any of the official timing or weightlifting, but he will go through drills. What do y'all expect from Texas overall out of this combine in theory? Okay, just asking you that. Number one. Number two, is there anything that's going to happen like big news like what happened last year with Xavier Worthy in the 4.21 40? Anything y'all expect?
That's what always dominates. Who runs the really fast times, right? So I'm looking at Isaiah Bond and Jaden Blue, but also Matthew Golden if he runs. Because Golden can solidify being a first rounder if he throws a 4.45 on the board, in my estimation. But then you have Isaiah Bond, whose college career ended with more questions than it started with. And he needs to put up a fast time to get over some of the things, I think, at the end of the season and have a really good gauntlet drill. And then there's Jaden Blue, who in a extraordinarily deep running back draft, and I know he's a boutique player and I know he has a strength. But when the college coaches turn on the tape with Jaden Blue, they're going to see a guy who, when he got the most opportunities, fumbled, got benched, and has tremendous hands, but didn't always show it. He had some drops at Texas. And whether that's because he was asked to do more and he got in a role that, that was more than he's ever done, which is possible. I've always said Jaden Blue has tremendous hands. Not only his 40 time and testing numbers for Jaden Blue, but gauntlet drill receiving out of the backfield. The drills they're going to put him through are going to be crucial for him in this draft, because if he shows any weak areas or weaker than expected areas in his elite traits, that's going to really knock him down in a running back draft that's loaded.
Jeff, what do you think? Anything you're looking for from the combine this weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of go the opposite way Gerry went. Andrew Makuba is a guy that showed when he was healthy, he's got the tape and the toughness, everything is there. I want to know what he jumps, what he runs, all of that stuff. He's probably right now, kind of that middle day 3. Maybe he gets himself into the early day 3. He plays safety. It's not a premium position, so maybe it's a stretch to say he's a day 2 guy. But if he can get himself into that, kind of top 120-ish range, I think that's going to be a pretty good draft for him. The other thing is obviously, and I've said it on our live stream, our Tuesday live stream. Gerry, you said it on Coffee and Football. I know people had a report that Quinn was going to throw at the combine when it came out, but Quinn Ewers to me didn't have that luxury.
No,
to not throw. He has to throw in Indianapolis, but man, Gerry, I'm with you. If he's healthy, and I go back to the pro day where, the Colts staff, the Texas staff, Mike McDaniel was there, Brian Schottenheimer, all of them seemed to like what they saw with Quinn, a healthy Quinn throwing routes on air. I don't know that there's a quarterback in this draft, honestly, that might look better throwing routes on air than Quinn if he's healthy, if everything's right. He could really elevate his stock because to me, QB3 for this draft after Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, to me, it's wide open. Is it Quinn? Is it Jackson Dart? Does somebody fall in love with Jalen Milroe and want to take that Anthony Richardson-like plunge and draft him early? I don't know, but QB3 is wide open. There's no reason why Quinn can't end this process as QB3.
I've got to say this. I mean, my take on it on Makuba, first of all, I think he's going to be a value pick in anywhere from the 3rd round on. Because I think you're going to get a 5 to 10 year starter in the NFL as long as he stays healthy. So he will be a real value pick. The guys I'm looking for are the offensive linemen. Texas has 4 offensive linemen at this combine. Obviously, Banks and Williams, very well-known commodities to folks in the NFL ranks because they're possible high-round pick. Connor and Majors. What do they do? Because those are guys that could be drafted or could go undrafted, and perhaps dependent on how they perform this weekend. All right, guys, thanks again to our sponsor. That's Adam Lowy over at the Lowy Law Firm. If you've been into a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, and want someone with 20 years of experience, make sure you reach out to Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm at loweylawfirm.com. They'll give you a free, no strings attached consultation to see whether or not you might be due compensation. All right, that's going to do it for this week's State of the Program. We'll have more today from the Combine. CJ Vogel is there. We'll also have other news and notes as it goes along. Should be some more recruiting news for Gerry and CJ and Jeff. For Gerry and Jeff, I'm Bobby Burton. Thanks for watching State of the Program. Hook 'em.